friend of mine did a word study on the word mediocre this week on Facebook. And my wife sent it to me, and it just really blessed me because the word mediocre, and by the way, that's really the word. It's not like we're doing a terrible job. We're not just doing good enough. The word mediocre was first used to describe mountain climbers who were involved but not committed. The word literally means middle of the rock, to describe climbers who do not finish the climb but stopped halfway. If you hope to have any significant impact in anything, then get in the commitment line and let the mediocres get in the involvement line. We get involved, but we don't commit. We go halfway, but not all the way. This is why families are destroying themselves. Number one, we go back to the whole moral relative issue. We look at the fact that there should be moral absolutes. And the fact is we're not teaching the moral absolutes because we've abdicated to everybody else to teach them but ourselves. Now listen, there's going to be some pushback here. Number one, life is full. Yeah, life's full. I got to work 2 jobs to make make ends meet. I'm too broken. I've made too many mistakes in my life to be able to really raise my kids well. Hey, you know, the church is guilty of saying, hey, don't try this at home without a professionally trained person, youth worker. You know? I don't know enough. Ooh. I'm just too busy. Turn to Deuteronomy chapter 11. I want you to hear what God told Israel. Because in this passage, it tells us what we need to know. It says this in verse 1. Love the Lord your God and keep his requirements, his decrees, his laws, and his commands always. That wasn't the suggestion. It says love God. Remember today your children were not the ones who saw and experienced the discipline of the Lord your God, his majesty, his mighty hand, his outstretched arms. The signs he performed and the things he did in the heart of Egypt, both Pharaoh the king of Egypt and the whole country. What he did to the Egyptian army, the horses, the chariots, how he overwhelmed them in the waters of the Red Sea as they were pursuing you, and how the Lord brought lasting ruin upon them. It was not your children who saw what he did for you in the wilderness until you arrived at this place. And what he did to Damon and Abram and the sons of Ehab and the Reubenite, when the earth opened up its mouth right there in the middle of all Israel and swallowed them up with their households and their tents and every living thing that belonged to them. But it was within your own eyes that you saw great things that the Lord has done. Your kids have not experienced what you've experienced in the Lord. Little or much, you see God move. You can never expect your kids to be as passionate about what you are because they lack the experiential. Observe, therefore, all the commandments I'm giving you today, so that you may have the strength to go in and take over the land and then cross the Jordan to possess, so that you may live long in the land. And the Lord swore to your ancestors to give them and their descendants a land flowing with milk and honey. The land that you enter in to take over is not like the land of Egypt, which you have come from, where you planted your seed and irrigated it by the foot in a vegetable garden. But the land that you are crossing the Jordan to take possession of your land, the mountains, the valleys, drinks rain from heaven, and the land of the Lord your God cares for it. The eyes of the Lord your God are continually on it from the beginning of the year to its end. So faithfully you obey the commandments I'm giving you today, to love the Lord your God and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul. Then I will send rain upon your land in its season, both in autumn and the spring rains, that you may gather grain and new wine and olive oil. And I will provide the grass of the fields for your cattle, and you will eat and be satisfied. I'll stop right there for 1 second. God has a plan. And there's something that I feel led that we need to talk about for just 1 second. There's stuff that God will only do if you choose to participate. requires an action. Faith without action is nothing but words. It's going to require something of you to do what God has called you to do. To raise great kids, it's going to take all that you have. Do you hear me? I'm raising kids. God has blessed me with daughters. I love them dearly, but there are times I am completely exasperated. I really am. I know my wife at times is completely at her wit's end, where we have tried everything, prayed over everything, spoken everything, and it's like they're on this terroristic, brainless acts of terrorism, And I love them dearly, by the way. And one of them's in the room going, "Oh dear, he's going to buy me lunch now," But I want you to hear that there's going to be a struggle. It's going to require everything that you have within yourself. And by the way, this is the same struggle that you're going to have to put everything that you need in your life to get what you need. Because just because you're busy, listen, those same excuses, I'm too busy, I don't know enough, I'm too broken, all that stuff is the same excuses you're giving God for your lack. Do you hear me? It's not just those excuses apply to you're teaching your children well. Those are the same excuses that apply to your life between you and God and what you don't have and don't know. It requires an action. It requires an unction that we get involved. Fully persuaded. So it goes on to say in verse 16, be careful. All that, be careful. Or you will be enticed to turn away and worship other gods and bow down to them. By the way, that's where we go with this moral relativism stuff. One of the reasons we don't speak out when we have the opportunity, and I'm not saying that Christians should be like, the fun police. I'm not saying that we know everything, because obviously we don't. But we're going to give in when it's too hard. We're going to give in and not say anything. It says the Lord's anger will burn against you. He will shut up the heavens and will not rain, and the ground will yield no produce, and you will soon perish from the good land the Lord has given you. Fix these words of mine in your heads and in your hearts. Tie them in symbols around your hands and bind them to your foreheads. Now, God is saying, he's not even addressing the kid factor yet. He's sitting back saying, listen, you need to remind yourself. You need to remind yourself. But get the marker out. Big sign, refrigerator, with the verse of the week that you need to remind yourself. Get your wife's lipstick and write it on the mirrors, Listen, do what it takes to put yourself in a position that you're constantly reminding yourself of the truth. Teach your children, talking with them when you sit at home and when you walk the road and when you lie down and when you get up. Write them on the door frames of your houses, the mirrors in your bathrooms, and your gates, so that your days and the days of your children will be many in the land of the Lord, and swore to give your ancestors as many days as heaven above the earth. Ooh. It didn't say anything about church. This is the commandment how to raise godly kids. God didn't talk about the temple, the tabernacle. He didn't talk about the Sunday school teachers' responsibilities. You see, you have to function if the church is to be the church that God's called it to be, any church. It's got to have great families that are thriving for that to happen. What comes out here should be a support and an encouragement. As we talked about, church should be a place to inspire you, to support you, and to empower you to go forward. In the Jewish culture, everything about learning the Word of God centered around the home. He said, fix these words in the hearts and minds and symbols. Bind them on your foreheads. Teach your children, talking with them when you sit at home, when you walk on the road, when you lie down, when you get up. You see, it's going to require a full-out, all-out effort to have spiritual conversations with your kids, to read the Word of God with your kids, to talk about stuff. My kids are homeschooled right now, and I'm so blessed with the fact that all the really intense, they're studying the Muslim culture and the Jewish culture. And they're going through all the serious apologetic stuff that I have from Biola University, and from Princeton University, and from Mike Licona, and all that stuff from Rosenberg. They are sitting and listening to the scary things that I listen to. And we're now sitting there, and we're having conversation. My wife and my daughters are having conversation about apologetics. I mean, stuff that I only dream about. I could talk with my congregation. I can actually have these conversations with my kids. This is how we change the world. This is how we get to being able to do the right thing, is by embracing it and empowering ourselves in our homes. But do we? Here's the converse to this in Ephesians 6:4. It says, fathers, don't exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in training and instruction in the Lord. I know there have been times as a parent I've exasperated my kids. My kids have been like to hear with the nonsense and the circus that I bring. I know I'm high maintenance. I know there's no picnic with father with me. Okay? I am a type A, I'm a Mike Ditka type. I am a screamer and a yeller and a drill sergeant. And I'm sorry I spent 25 years in youth ministry. You know what you do in youth ministry? You're teaching kids how to live. Use a coaster. Get your feet off that. What were you thinking? Apparently you weren't. I mean, that's the conversations you get ingrained into you having with kids. And you come home and naturally you flow right into that with your own, I mean, it's just a natural thing here. By the way, I apologize for exasperating you. I know I'm no park, no picnic in the park. But I'm to instruct them and train them. Proverbs 22 says, train up a child in the way he should go, and even when he is old, he will not depart from it.